This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Hey, I don't know for sure, I don't know for certain, but it looks like, it appears that Jim Jordan is going to be voted on publicly as Speaker today, later today, this afternoon. I would expect, based on the way things have been going the last couple of days, based on all the pressure that Sean Hannity and everybody else has been placing on these cowardly and feckless House Republicans, that Jordan's lining up the votes. And I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it'll get messy today, later on today. But I expect Jordan to get the votes and become Speaker, which should not surprise anyone. It can piss you off. It can make you sad. It can make you want to pull your hair out. That this guy who worked at Trump's fucking hip to overthrow the American election, an American election in 2020, is going to become Speaker. A guy who has zero respect for the rule of law, zero respect for the separation of powers. A guy who's a congressman and used his congressional committee, his federal committee, to pressure local prosecutors around the country to stop investigations. Look, it can piss you off, rightly, that Jim Jordan, a guy like Jim Jordan, will become Speaker. But it shouldn't surprise you. Not one leg. Look, I know Jim Jordan. I know Jim Jordan well. I served in Congress with Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan and I, you've heard me say this before, were very, very good friends. We were very close colleagues. That's how fucking upside down this thing is. I mean, 10, 12 years ago, Jim Jordan and I are working together with others to make life miserable for John Boehner. Jim Jordan and I were the firebrand, the Tea Party Freedom Caucus firebrands working to get rid of Boehner. And here we are 10, 12 years later, and Jordan is going to become Speaker. Not at all a surprise. Yeah, Jordan's an election denier. Yes, Jordan doesn't believe Joe Biden won the 2020 election. Jim Jordan believes the 2020 election was stolen. And Jim Jordan did whatever he could to overthrow that election. It's no exaggeration. I've called him this before. Yeah, Jim Jordan and I are no longer friends. We no longer speak to each other. Jim Jordan's an insurrectionist. Period. Yeah, America, you're going to have an insurrectionist as your House Speaker. But again, that shouldn't surprise anybody, because an insurrectionist is the leader of the Republican Party. Hello, Donald Trump. An insurrectionist is going to be the 2024 Republican Party nominee for president. Look, don't take this wrong, but in many ways, it makes perfect sense that Jim freaking Jordan, who I know well, who is a divider. He's a divisive SOB. He's a flamethrower. Doesn't want to work with anybody. It makes perfect sense that he'd be Speaker. He's a Republican. 80% or so of Republican voters believe the 2020 election was stolen. The Republican Party base, guys, does not believe January 6th was a bad day. They believe January 6th was a good day. Republican Party voters want Trump to be an authoritarian and do whatever he wants to give them whatever they want. Jim Jordan's MAGA. Donald Trump is MAGA. But see, here's the news flash. The Republican Party is MAGA. Jim Jordan used to be fringe. Back when he and I were in Congress together, he and I were fringe. Not anymore. Jim Jordan's Republican Party mainstream. Yeah, an election denier. Yes, an intolerant, bigoted, authoritarian embracing, rule of law damning MAGA head. That's Jim Jordan. But that's today's Republican Party. Jordan reflects it. The House, the Republican House, reflects where Republican voters are. It's a MAGA caucus. The vast majority of these Republican members in the House voted not to certify the 2020 election. The vast majority of these Republicans in the House are MAGA. They are Trump supporters. They are election deniers. Right? Like Jim Jordan's no outlier. He's no fringe character. He perfectly represents today's Republican Party. So and I know the guy, as bad as I think he is, it makes sense that this is where we ended up. This is the Republican Party. And I think that's the broader point, everybody listening to me right now this Tuesday, on a day that Jordan could, would, and probably will become Speaker. Maybe not. Maybe there'll be a fight. But this is the important point. This is what you all got to wrap your arms around. MAGA is the party. One of our two major political parties is completely radicalized. It's an authoritarian embracing cult. That's what it is. That's not a fringe piece of the GOP. That is the GOP. So know that. Understand that. Don't think that Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene are a bunch of fringe characters. No. I mean, Jim Jordan becoming Speaker ought to convince you, if you haven't gotten it already, this is the Republican Party. Acknowledge that, know that, embrace that. As bad as it is for our democracy, but our only job now is to defeat it. And by the way, Jim Jordan becoming Speaker is going to help us defeat Republicans because, man, we can just paint every House Republican running for re-election next year. We can just paint with Jim Jordan's mug. This is the Republican Party. It's Jim Jordan's party. It's not Mitt Romney's party. It's Donald Trump's party. It's not Liz Cheney, Joe Walsh's, or Adam Kinzinger's party. Know that, understand that, and then let's defeat it. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Joe Walsh. Have a great, great day. Be brave out there, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.